Hey there, seekers and shapeshifters, healers and expanders. Welcome to the Embodied Spirit Uncensored. I'm Nicole D'Alessandro, and I am here to guide you through an in-depth experience like no other, channeled from higher wisdom through me directly to you. This is a place for those who dare to delve deeper, who crave transformation beyond the conventional, and who are ready to embrace the mystical union of science and spirit. Here at the Embodied Spirit, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive into the very depths of existence. Prepare to be challenged, to change, and to elevate into a new version of yourself. We're inviting you into an entirely new world, a realm that extends far beyond your physical being. So if you're ready to transform your understanding and awaken to your true spirit, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this profound journey together. Welcome to the very first episode of Embodied Spirit Uncensored. I'm Nicole D'Alessandro, your guide on this journey of discovery and transformation. Before we dive deeper, let's set the stage for what this podcast aims to achieve. Embodied Spirit Uncensored is not about diagnosing or replacing the sciences and the medicinal world, nor does it adhere to any specific religion, race, or gender. Instead, this podcast is here to broaden your mindset, challenge your beliefs, and inspire you to become curious around you and your unbound, limitless potential. We're here to integrate body, mind, and spirit through a colourful process of embodiment. Today, I want to set the scene. We're going to explore what it means to live life as a disembodied person, and it's through my very real experience. And why I'm here sharing this journey with you is because of my own transformative experience. It was probably as early as 3 that I remember feeling deeply connected to a knowing that transcended beyond the human experience, and yet I was so afraid and confused. You could say this was my first memory of living in the world of duality. That moment when a child realises they are separate from their mother, separate from God, the universe, divine. And I'll be relating to a various way or phrases that will relate to God or the universe or the divine order. But for you, you might like to refer to your spirit, your higher being, your connection to consciousness or the universe in a different way. My background was in Catholicism. I was raised a Catholic. I went to a Catholic primary school. I have taught in Catholic schools. So for me, it feels very natural to refer to that unbound infinite intelligence as God. So coming back to, and I tend to go off and roundabout, and I'm going to keep this real. I don't want this to be a scripted experience. I want this to come from the heart. And I think that it's something that rather than you just hear what I'm saying, I want you to see if you can feel into what it is that I'm talking about and relate it back to your own very personal experience of your life. And I hope that today inspires you to reflect on your earlier life. And if it is painful or it brings about challenge, then go very gentle with yourself. Make sure you've got support. Make sure you have a friend to lean on, a person to call, a therapist or a coach of your own. Or, hit me up, get in touch with me. So going back to my childhood, the first memory of 3, and it was quite confronting. My brother was born, and I felt a profound sense of responsibility to protect him. And yet my polarized sensory experience of being in a body meant that I became really overwhelmed. I became fucking jealous and very judgmental. And that brought about a lot of shame and guilt. And it was in these earlier years that I began to realize that life earthside was really confusing. Knowing wasn't enough. And I understood that I had this knowing. I could see adults and I'd look around as early as 3 and be really fucking confused around the way in which adults were messing up and showing up in their experience. And it left me really perplexed. And I couldn't quite understand why. And now, as a 50-year-old, I do. But as a 3-year-old, a very, very different story. So to know thyself is the mission that I basically went on from as early as 3. And it was through a series of failures, and fuck did I fail well in my earlier years, that I went on a journey. And it involved a lot of violations, that I've experienced abuse and addiction, and rage consumed me. And by the age of 14, I was messy. I was taking drugs. I was having sex at a very young age. I hated my mother. And I still carried such responsibility for my younger brother. However, rather than show up in a responsible manner, I just brought him into my world of mess. And we did have a lot of fun, let me tell you. So at the age of 14, really disconnected, pissed off with the world, desperate for attention and affection, and totally confused around this duality, this polarized sensory experience of knowing that I was always protected, but also not really understanding what that looked like because life seemed so messy. My parents seemed so messy. My family seemed so messy. So I just was about to give up. And I felt this urge or this nudge by spirit to have my first seance. It was the last seance, by the way. And it was then that I started to really relate to this other world beyond the physical. And so I invited a group of friends over. My parents used to hang out with my besties or another family of friends 3 houses up the street. So they were always there. And so I had the house to myself. My brother at the time was, 10 going on 11. So we included him and he was exposed to this experience. So I created that seance table. We sat around, and the intention behind it was rebelliousness, and it was really to gain a popularity, to be seen or perceived as cool. I wanted to be a cool person because I always thought that my family were fucking uncool. So you're probably asking what this has to do with embodiment and the embodied spirit, but I think it's important that you get a little bit of an understanding of how my journey started and why intention setting and these habitual processes are so important around living an embodied life. So coming back to my intentions were way off. I was out for popularity. I was angry. I was in rage. I wanted to piss my parents off. I wasn't really thinking about the ramifications. I'd always had that innate wisdom and knowing that there was another world. I just didn't know what it looked like. So not a good idea. That's probably one little thing I would suggest in this is lesson 1. If you are going to work between worlds, or you are going to integrate and bring your mind, body, and spirit into union, be very specific with your intentions. Now my intentions only come from a place of high, loving capacity with good intentions for everyone that's included. And I've had to learn that some of the challenging ways. So, turned out I disturbed a family of Indigenous Aboriginal elders, and for the next 6 years, they would remind me and my brother of their pissed offness for being woken through not good intention. And so my house, our family home, for the next 6 years until I moved out, and that's for another day, became very uncomfortable. And my brother, I might have him on here another day, but he can quote this, and it really made me understand the ramifications of dabbling and playing through the lens of being disembodied. I was disconnected. I didn't fucking know what I was doing. I didn't care. So we have lots of many stories that came from that. And it just then brought about more of an obsession around understanding the fuckery of life. Human behaviour fascinated me, and the people in my life and what they had to endure. For me to embark on this journey, including my brother, gave me the reason and my why. And embodiment is a transformational process rooted in love and in community. And by bridging the gap between science and spirit, I could make peace with my earlier life. I could sever contracts. I learnt to heal intergenerational trauma. And in fact, now the more I learn about the neuroscience and the spirit and the sense of this union or unified wholeness as a conscious living entity in relation to the universe, I hope I'm making sense, is that now I don't see what I do in the world as a spiritual teacher or as a transformational coach or as a therapist in my earlier life or teacher. I don't see it necessarily as healing myself or anybody else. I see it more as looking for the joys, looking for the diamonds in the messiness of our experience. That's where the gold is. And through my experience and my ability to reflect and my obsession with human behaviour, from an earlier life, 14, 15, 16, I was able to go back and start to piece together some of those really important parts of my life that were so messy at the time and really, I'm going to say ugly. Now I see them as beautiful. So through my journey, through this earlier life, from as early as 3, realizing this duality, being completely confused, I now know that everything that happened from then on was part of my destiny, part of my divinity in teaching embodiment. So bridging the gap between science and spirit meant that I could make peace. And the clues were there all along. And through this, I just wanted to share with others. And that's what this podcast is about. This podcast is a heartfelt, heart-centered, real, no bullshit expression of love, community, the turbulent times and expressions of living in duality, and sharing that with my people. And that is why I wanted to just set the scene from the start. And what it led me to do was become obsessed about the nature of energy, energetics, brain science, the spiritual side of things, and the ancient practices that are so old and have been around before the sciences. And what it involved was loads of drugs, lots of sex, and loads of meditation. I became obsessed with meditating, astral traveling, all for the wrong reasons at the start. No intentions other than to party and leave the body and disembody and disconnect, because I thought at that time my reality was so shit, I didn't want to be in the experience of it. And being a rebel, now with a cause, the cause at that time was to get the fuck out of there, to get the fuck out of my body. And that led me astray a lot. It led me on a windy path. However, it also led me to teach embodiment and live an embodied life. So what does it all have to do with these experiences in embodiment? The mysteries coupled with my own tumultuous journey, it gave me the why, it gave me why I'm here. And I really want to be specific around how important integration and transformation and embodiment is deeply rooted in love and community and the bridging of these two gaps between science and spirit. And I think we're on our way in society, right? But we're not quite there yet. So stay with me as we unravel these threads together, because each episode will dive into different aspects of living an embodied life. And I will go a little bit deeper into my own experience with a bit more detail. And hopefully the stories of my own expression and the shameful parts of me that I had to embrace before I could really honour and teach this work will give you permission to reflect, unshame, and consider where you're at in life and where the trajectory of your life is heading, and what do you do with your expressions and experiences of being disembodied. And I would want to say that every single human being on the planet will experience dissociative behaviours or dissociation, disembodiment, disconnectedness over their time of their life, because we live in the world of duality. And duality simply means separateness, these two opposing expressions of self. And that is the only way that spirit can learn to know thyself. Because as an integrative whole, there isn't an ability to, I don't like the word compare, but the universe separated itself, created itself in the image and likeness of itself so that it could experience itself as itself. And in yoga, we refer to this as Maya. And Maya is an illusion. So the whole idea of embodiment is removing that illusion and bringing yourself back to center and collecting all of the parts, all of the moving parts, all of the shit parts, all of the good parts, all of the community parts, all of the intimate parts, all of the lifespan parts, and bringing it together into a unified whole so that you can almost lay it all out and see it for what it is. So, look, I tend to go off on tangents. I hope you're following along. But really what I'm saying is it's about embracing the full spectrum of your experiences and turning them into a source of strength. So I'm going to leave you with that today. We spoke about duality, my experience as early as 3 in that reality, when I saw myself as myself in my brother and that separateness. We'll speak to a little bit more on the next episode. But thank you for tuning in to this very first episode, and please make sure to follow or subscribe to Embodied Spirit Uncensored. Wherever you listen to podcasts, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Nicole D'Alessandro Perth, or visit my website at www.nicoledalessandro.com.au for more insights and updates. Until next time, keep embracing your journey, exploring your potential, and living into your truth. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us on the Embodied Spirit Uncensored. Today's journey may have ended, but your personal transformation has only just begun. So keep channeling the insights and energies from our episode. And as you move forward, remember, this podcast is for those who are not just living, but are seeking to live profoundly. Continue to explore, expand and evolve with us. Make sure to follow this series, connect with us on Instagram at Nicole D'Alessandro Perth, or visit www.nicoledalessandro.com.au for more transformative content. You can also find me on Facebook at Nicole D'Alessandro. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and more importantly, stay batshit crazy as you embody and explore beyond your current realm of existence. I'll see you later for now, and remember, this journey to embodying your spirit is the most significant journey you'll ever undertake.